letting go is the most courageous act in old age. What do we hold on to and why? That old man sat by the window every morning holding a cold cup of tea, staring into the front yard. Everyone thought he was just enjoying the view. But in truth, he was holding on to someone who had been gone for 15 years by never skipping her morning cup. To hold on, such a small phrase. But for the elderly, it's not just an action, it's a survival instinct. We hold on to old objects because they're memories, painful relationships because as long as we're talking, we're still family, past mistakes because we believe we're unworthy of forgiveness, roles we've long lost, mother, father, provider, partner, stories no one speaks of but still live vividly inside us. Sometimes we even hold on to pain as if it defines us. People often assume you're old. What else is there to hold on to? But in truth, old age makes us cling harder than ever before. Not out of greed, but out of fear of losing the last thread that connects us to who we once were. An 84-year-old woman once said, "I still keep my mother's old notebook. She's been gone for 50 years. Her handwriting was awful. I can't read a word, but every time I touch it, I feel like someone's daughter again. Because after she died, no one ever called me that again." We don't hold on because the object is valuable. We hold on because it's the last thread tying us to a chapter we once loved. A man still polishes old shoes he no longer wears. A mother keeps her child's torn sweater, the one who passed in an accident. A woman keeps a letter never sent for 40 years, an apology to the husband she left without a word. Holding on is often the soul's way of surviving the void. Because if we let go, we fear nothing will belong to us anymore. No one will remember. No one will know how deeply it mattered. And deepest of all, we fear we won't know who we are. When you hold tightly to an object, a memory, a name, sometimes it's your soul whispering, "Please don't erase me. Please don't forget what I used to be. If I lose my past, who am I now?" Buddhism calls this attachment not to things, but to identity. Christianity speaks of not laying down the cross because we believe no one could love us if we don't carry the burden. Taoism looks it straight in the eye. What doesn't transform becomes stuck. What is stuck blocks the flow. What is blocked leads to a restless spirit. Holding on is not wrong. It's instinct. It can even be an expression of love. But hold too tightly for too long, and it becomes a shackle. One elderly man once said, "I held on to anger toward my son for 25 years. But on my 80th birthday, I looked back, and I couldn't even remember why. All that remained was emptiness, and when I hugged him, I realized I had just lost 25 years of being a father." So what do we truly hold on to? Not just objects. We hold on to unspoken sadness, to guilt that no one else judges, to roles we no longer carry, to the fear of being forgotten. If you're carrying a worn photo in your wallet, if you still whisper someone's name every morning though they've long gone, if you're haunted by a past no one remembers but you, please know this: you are not wrong, you are not weak, you are just surviving. The fear of letting go is not about loss, but about not knowing who we are without what we held. People think letting go is something the hands do. Just drop it, put it away, toss it out. But the tightest grip is not in the hands, it's in the ego. An elderly woman once said, "I know I should throw away some of my old things, but every time I try, I cry, because it feels like I'm erasing my entire life." That's something rarely spoken about aging. We don't fear losing what we're holding. We fear that once we let go, we won't know who we are anymore. When you let go of a role, you lose part of your identity. When you let go of a partner, you lose the part of your heart that lived for them. When you let go of guilt, you lose the story that justified why you kept punishing yourself. When you let go of anger, you lose the sense of "I was right," which you held on to so you wouldn't feel weak. An old man, once a military officer, said, "I've been retired for 30 years, but I still stand straight like a colonel. I don't let myself cry, I don't shake, I don't show fear, because if I let go of that image, I don't know who I'd be anymore." The body may age, but the ego stays young, proud, rigid, still clinging to its old armor. Buddhism says, suffering arises from attachment to self, Let go of the self and the suffering dissolves. Christianity offers the image of Jesus on the cross not as a figure of power, but in his final surrender. It is finished. A complete release, nothing left to prove, nothing left to hold. Taoism teaches, when water stops flowing, it stagnates. When wind is blocked, it suffocates. When the heart is stuck, the breath turns heavy. To live long, one must let go so the current may return. You don't have to forget. You don't have to deny. You don't have to erase anything. You only have to allow yourself to no longer depend on it to exist. One woman held a grudge against her sister for 50 years over a family inheritance. They didn't speak, no calls, no visits. Then one day her sister passed away. No apology, no reconciliation. And the woman said, "I thought I'd feel free, but I didn't. I felt a deep emptiness, not because she was gone, but because I had nothing left to be angry at. I had lost the very thing that defined me for half a lifetime." We fear letting go because we fear this question. If I no longer hold that pain, that memory, that identity, then who am I? Who are you? If you're no longer someone's wife, someone's mother, someone who survived something hard, do you still exist if no one remembers you, needs you, or expects you to be strong, important, or worthy? That is the deepest fear behind letting go, the fear of disappearing into nothing. But dear one, if you are brave enough to walk through that fear, you will find this. Beyond everything you've ever held on to, there is one thing that never left, and that is you. Not your name, not your role, not your reputation. Just the soft light within your chest when you sit alone, doing absolutely nothing and still feel, I'm here, and I'm still me, and that is enough. The cost of not letting go. Some pain doesn't scream. It just settles quietly in the heart, then spreads slowly through the body like cold air seeping into the joints, into the bones, into the cells of old memory. And one day you no longer recognize it as pain. You simply feel tired. Tired from something you should have let go of a long time ago. Not letting go feels like you're holding on to something precious. But the only thing that truly remains is the weight. A 76-year-old woman held onto an old birthday card from her late husband. The card was faded, wrinkled, barely legible. But every night she held it before sleep. Later her hands began to tremble. Her chest began to ache. The doctor said, "It's just your age." But she knew better. "I'm not sick," she whispered. "I'm just carrying too much of the past on my heart." When you won't let go, your body will start speaking for you. Taoism calls it blocked qi, imbalanced energies, weak spirit, restless mind. Buddhism describes it as internal knots, unresolved emotion that manifests as suffering in body and mind. Modern psychology confirms emotional tension, when unprocessed, directly impacts your nervous system, digestion, heart, and sleep. Hold on to anger, your muscles tense. Hold on to grief, your shoulders ache. Hold on to fear, your breath becomes shallow. Hold on to resentment, your blood pressure rises. Hold on to the past and sleep no longer comes easy. An 82-year-old man resented his daughter for 20 years because she married someone he didn't approve of. They lived just 15 minutes apart but didn't see each other. He developed chronic stomach pain. No medication helped. Until one day he quietly told a nurse, "I miss my daughter, but I don't want to be the one to give in." The nurse gently asked, "What if your stomach pain isn't from what you eat, but from something you've been trying to digest emotionally for the last 20 years? He said nothing. 3 weeks later, he called his daughter. He didn't say anything grand. He simply asked, "Are you doing okay?" That night, he slept peacefully for the first time in 7 years. Not letting go doesn't make you strong. It makes you exhausted, slowly, silently, relentlessly. Emotionally refusing to let go can lead to snapping at your children and grandchildren because something inside you still aches unnamed. Crying over small things because an old wound still hasn't been held. Feeling worthless because you're clinging to roles you've already outgrown. Feeling lonely even surrounded by loved ones because your heart speaks a language no one else hears. You may have thought, "I'm fine, I'm just getting old." But aging doesn't make us cold. It's the unreleased pain that hardens the heart. In relationships, not letting go creates cycles of inherited pain. The mother who once felt blamed becomes the grandmother who criticizes. Love turned into chains. I keep my child close because I'm afraid of being alone. A harsh exterior, not because you're cruel, but because you're trying to preserve a version of life that no one else remembers. You don't need someone to apologize. You just need to stop holding that pain as if it defines you. You don't need anyone to understand. You just need to sit with yourself and say honestly, this once mattered deeply, but now I want to feel light. Not letting go doesn't make you loyal. It makes you a prisoner of your own past. Letting go is an act of courage, not of weakness. This world still praises those who endure, the ones who never fall, the ones who never cry, the ones who keep every loyalty, hold everything until the very end. But there's a truth that only those who've lived long enough and deeply enough will ever understand. Holding on isn't always strength, and letting go has never been weakness. An elderly man once said, I spent 60 years building my career, but it took me 10 more years after retirement to learn how to let go of that title. I used to believe that if I wasn't somebody, then I was nothing. Now I know I am still me even when no one needs me to be anything. Letting go is not giving up. Letting go is not failure. Letting go is not denial of what once was. Letting go is a conscious act. It is when you recognize that something has reached its natural end, and you bow to it with gratitude. An 86-year-old woman once shared, I held on to this house for 40 years because my husband built it. But every time I cleaned, all I felt was exhaustion. Every time I entered that old room, I only felt emptiness. When I moved into the nursing home, I thought the pain would kill me, but it didn't. I started writing again. I started singing again. I started living again. Buddhism calls this letting go with love. Letting go not because love has died, but because love has completed its work. Christianity says, whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. To let go of the ego is to rediscover the true soul beneath it. Taoism puts it simply, to not contend is strength. To not cling is wisdom. To not force is to flow with heaven. Letting go is the declaration of someone who understands impermanence. It's the moment you accept. No one lives forever. Every role ends. Every love changes. Only the one who knows how to let go remains free. Have you ever seen an elderly woman hold on to an old coat until it fell apart? Have you ever heard someone retell the same story from 30 years ago? Have you ever been that person? If so, don't blame yourself. That's survival. But the moment you realize that holding on no longer brings comfort, then letting go becomes the quietest revolution of your life. Someone who once suffered but dares to say, I don't need revenge. I only want peace. That is a strong person. Someone who once wore the role of strict father and one day holds his grandchild and weeps, saying, I'm sorry, I used to think that being cold was a way of loving. That is a strong person. Someone who once carried deep resentment but dares to write a letter of apology, never to send it. Someone who once clung to the past but whispers, I lay it down now because I want to live what's left of my days lightly. That is courage. Letting go doesn't mean you lost. It means you chose not to keep fighting with what's already over. No applause needed, no praise. Just one quiet moment where you sit alone and say honestly, I've held long enough. Now I want to go on living, not to resist life, but to breathe it. I let go not because I am weak, but because I've grown strong enough to no longer need to hold. How to let go without losing yourself, a step-by-step guide for the soul. People often say, you just need to let go, but no one ever tells you how. Letting go isn't about pressing delete. It's not about throwing something away. It's not about saying I'm over it and turning your back. Letting go is a sacred ritual of inner maturity, especially in old age when everything we hold has become intertwined with identity, memory, love, and pain. You cannot rush it, but you can let go gently, step by step, with compassion for yourself. Step 1. Identify. What have you been holding for too long? Don't ask, what should I let go of? Ask, what feels the heaviest when I think of it? What can I not part with even though it no longer brings me peace? Who still lives in my heart with words left unspoken? Write it down, one by one. No need to explain, just name it. I haven't let go of my mother because she died before I ever told her I forgave her. I haven't let go of this shirt because it was the last thing I touched before my husband passed. I haven't let go of my anger at myself because I stayed silent when I should have spoken up. Step 2. Write not to explain, but to release. Take a piece of paper. List the things you're holding. Write to that person whether they're gone, unreachable, or unable to understand. Write honestly. It doesn't have to be poetic. It doesn't have to be right. Mom, I blamed you, but now I also understand you. Love, I was angry when you left, but I'm also grateful for what we had. To myself, yes, I made mistakes, but I was tired and I did what I could. Fold it, keep it or burn it, not to erase the past, but to free the energy trapped inside it. Step 3. Speak to what you're holding. Place the object in front of you, a photo, a journal, a piece of clothing, a gift, or if there's nothing physical, just close your eyes and recall the memory. Sit still, breathe deeply, then say, I know you once mattered so much. You were part of me, but today I want to continue living lighter. So if you're ready, please come with me, not to disappear, but so neither of us has to be a burden to the other anymore. You might cry, you might tremble, but stay a little longer so your body knows you finally touched what hurt the most without running. Step 4, a symbolic act, so your body believes letting go has begun. Burn the letter. Wrap the object and store it away. Give it away, pass it on. Tear the photo not out of hate, but to end the chapter, or simply sit with it one last time and say goodbye. Letting go is internal, but a physical act is how your heart begins to believe you mean it. Step 5. Fill the space. With presence, not distraction. After letting go, there will be space. A quiet, a strange feeling as if you've lost a piece of yourself. Don't rush to replace it. Instead, fill it with presence. Breathe. Watch the rain. Talk with a child. Write a few lines with no purpose. Listen to a familiar song, not to remember, but to be present with yourself. A daily mantra to remember. I'm letting go, not because it didn't matter, but because I've become enough. Enough to live on without carrying the weight of yesterday. Who am I after letting go, when you've let everything go? The final question is not, what did I lose? But rather, what remains within me? That is the moment of emptiness, a quiet, unfamiliar space. No more roles, no more responsibilities, no more grudges, no more expectations, no more deadlines. And in that stillness, you begin to see what truly remains. A 91-year-old woman once said, I've let go of so much: my house, my money, my friends, even some family ties. But in the end, I found that I still had me and a morning cup of tea. There was still sunlight through the window, still the sound of birds in the evening. And I realized that is enough. You are no longer someone's mother, no longer someone's spouse, no longer the person who worked at such and such place, no longer the one who was hurt in the past. You are just yourself without a label. Buddhism calls this anatta, no more who am I only. I am present. No need to prove, no need to hold, just pure radiant being. Christianity describes this kind of surrender as redemption not earned by achievement, but granted by grace when a soul returns to God's embrace, naked but honest. Taoism puts it simply. Returning is the root. The root is stillness. Stillness is essence. Essence is the way. An 87-year-old man, once a famous lawyer, fell into depression after retirement. For 5 years, he felt lost until he began to paint. No one taught him. No one praised him. He simply painted leaves, his cat, old sandals, the evening sky. And one day he said, I used to believe that if I wasn't a lawyer, I was nothing. But now, when I am no one at all, I realize I am everything. I am the breeze. I am the light. I am my wrinkles. I am my breath. I have never lived more clearly than now. You may lose your title. You may lose your health. You may even lose your memories, but what you can never lose is the silence within when you stop running from yourself. You lived your life for others, you tried so hard to be right, you struggled to be loved, but now in your letting go, you return to something no one ever taught you, the right to simply be for no one, for nothing, for no reason. If this morning you have no one to call, no task to complete, no one expecting anything from you, congratulations. You have arrived at the deepest place of freedom. Not everyone can bear that silence. Many will fill it with TV, with phones, with old stories, with judgments. But if you dare to sit within that empty space, you will hear a soft voice rise from deep within. I have come home. I need nothing more, and my heart has never felt this light. The bravest elders are those who let go. Smile and go home lightly. No one ever teaches us how to leave. We are taught how to begin, how to love, how to hold on, how to fight, but very few ever teach us how to end beautifully. An 89-year-old man sits on his porch every evening. He no longer watches the news, no longer scrolls his phone, no more newspapers. He simply watches the clouds. Someone once asked, "What are you thinking about?" He smiled gently. Nothing really, just waiting, but not in a hurry. Not waiting for death, but waiting for a sunset beautiful enough to make his heart feel complete. People often think old age is a descent, but in truth it is a shedding. Layer by layer until you return to the purest essence of your soul. You are no longer someone who needs to prove. No longer in a race, no longer defending any belief, no longer needing to be loved in a certain way. You just breathe, smile, and say goodbye gently. Buddhism calls it nirvana in life, when there's nothing left to hold, cling to, or demand. Christianity calls it rest in grace, the return after a life of love, pain, and forgiveness. Taoism calls it returning to origin, like smoke rising like a distant bell, like a quiet stream flowing home. A 92-year-old woman 2 days before passing told her nurse, "Later, please remember to open the window. I don't want to leave in a closed room. I want the wind to walk me to the road, and if you hear birds singing, know I've arrived." No crying, no drama, just a farewell as light as a leaf falling in a silent garden. You don't need a grand funeral. You don't need all your children to gather. You don't need a tearful goodbye. You only need the heart that has learned to let go. And when you finally do, you'll see, death is not terrifying. Death is just taking off the coat so the soul can walk freer. The bravest elders are not those who lived without pain, not those who held on to everything. They are the ones who dared to lay down the luggage of a lifetime, rose from the old bench, and walked toward the light with a smile. Light, radiant, and truly free.